Ah, there, my friend, and welcome to this evening's recital of A Christmas Carol. Now, this yearly tradition is one of my very favorites because normally I publish my stories and I never get to see the faces of those wonderful readers. But tonight, you and I are sharing the same time and the same space. Together, yes, all you little spirits floating around, yes. What do I see here? I see Katie. Hello, a little blue spirit over there. Hello, Katie, yes. Now, likewise, if you can see me, I can see you, and I can also see any messages that you're sending me on your electronic typewriter. So if you want to send anything, there, they're silent, yes. I can tell that your microphone is activating, but all it shows me is hello from VR. You should have a keyboard inside of your stereoscopic view. Now, tonight, yes, wonderful. Thank you for leading me in that direction, Spirit Silent. You see, tonight's performance is a little bit different as there are technological accompaniments, which means, of course, as with any new technology, there may be a few bugs skittering about. So, there are a few things we can check before we begin. Number one, and if you see me practicing my posture exercises with my arms at either side of my body, this means that I'm frozen in that position and something has gone wrong. So all you need to do is go to our Discord and seek harmony therein. Just let us know you're having trouble and we will assist you. First thing to do, though, is to turn something called your VPN off. Oh, my goodness. Hope you enjoyed the automaton Dickens over there. It was quite disconcerting for me, I can assure you. But as he seems to absorb some of my knowledge, I've absorbed some of his. Yes, I seem to have the knowledge of computers as well. So if you are having problems, another thing you can do is restarting your computer. If you still continue to see me with my arms at either side of my body, not moving and yes, fluidly, and oh my, I should have done some calisthenics before we began. Also, on our website, you can look at the FAQ. If you have any questions, they can be answered there. And if none of this fixes it, you can download a different version of our show. So, the instructions, again, will be in the Discord, or you can, of course, email info@agilelens.com. All right. Now, let's see. In addition to Katie, this little blue spirit, I now see Jeff, a floating red spirit over here. Now, you should be aware that you do come as a specific color. Oh, and over there I see a yellow spirit named Topher. Now, if you go as far as Topher is from me now, I can't, unfortunately, see your missive anymore, so go ahead and step in close. Now, you might be wondering why you've been assigned each of your different colors. Well, since you are playing the role of spirits this evening, and just like Jacob Marley, and I will refer to you a few times, and you do have a small part to play. Now, but you might be wondering just now why it is that I have assigned you these different colors. Well, this isn't Ovid, of course. Now, you're not assigned the color red for having a wrathful life, or blue for being melancholy. No. This is the holidays. This is the different color of holiday cheer you bring. That's why you resemble the baubles on the Christmas tree. Yes, that's right, little spirit. Now, I haven't seen any messages besides someone telling me that they can see me moving. If you have any questions, please, this would be the time. Now, once the story is rolling, I won't have as much time to be able to respond to you. I'll do what I can, but, I don't want to stop the narrative. Wonderful. Aaron says, nice hat. Why, thank you. I do pride myself. It's real beaver, don't you know? Yes. All right, then. I think we've covered all our bases. Oh, and of course, around the lobby here, you can see these two different technological interpretations of my work over here in the Magic Lantern, with these Magic Lantern slides. The limelight was used to broadcast the beautiful colored light, while the live storyteller would tell the story of a Christmas carol, much like I'm going to do tonight. And behind me, there was also these three-dimensional glasses where you could see three-dimensional representations of a Christmas carol. Well, tonight we're combining the two together to make a kind of stereoscopic magic lantern show. So, I do hope you enjoy it. Remember, if you have any trouble, I gave you the instructions earlier. So, my friends, Mark, Jeff, Erin, bluish nosed reindeer, not sure. Oh, you're excited to hear the story. Well, I'm excited to tell it to you. Well, I can see. I'm very, very happy to see all of us. Wonderful. So, without further ado, then, let's begin. Marley was dead, to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I'm about to relate. Now, Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood for years afterwards above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. No wind that blew was bitterer than he. Yes, go ahead and get a good look at him. Nobody ever stopped him. Excuse me, Topher. Nobody ever stopped him in the street to say, with gladsome looks, "Oh, my dear Scrooge, how are you? When will you come to see me?" Bah! Oh, dear. Well, but what did Scrooge care? It was the very thing he liked, to edge his way along the crowded paths of life, warning all human sympathy to keep its distance. Sorry there, reindeer, I hope it didn't scare you. Once upon a time, of all the good days of the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. Come along with me. All right, now, everyone, this way, please, to the counting house. This is a moving story, so I do hope you've explored your locomotion controls. There we are. All right, follow along. Wonderful. Now, the door was open, so Scrooge could keep an eye on his clerk, in a dismal little cell beyond was copying letters. Now, Scrooge had a very small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal. "Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!" It was the voice of Scrooge's nephew, who came upon him so quickly that this was the first intimation he had of his approach. Bah! Humbug. Oh. Christmas a humbug, Uncle? Surely you don't mean that? I do. What right have you to be merry? You're poor enough. Oh, come then. What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough. If I could work my will, then every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding, then buried with a stake of holly through his heart. Keep Christmas in your own way, and let me keep it in mine. Keep it? But you don't keep it. Let me leave it alone, then. Much good may it do you. Don't be angry, Uncle. Come. Dine with us tomorrow. I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends? Good afternoon. I'm sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute, but I'll keep my Christmas humor till the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle. Good afternoon. And a Happy New Year! Good afternoon! Oh, Merry Christmas, Bob. Oh, Merry Christmas to you, good sir. There's another fellow, my clerk, with 15 shillings a week and a wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam. Now, this lunatic, in letting Scrooge's nephew out, had let 2 other people in. They were portly gentlemen, pleasant to behold, and now stood and tipped their hats to him. Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley? Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. Oh, my. At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make a slight provision for the poor and destitute who suffer greatly at the present time. And many thousands are in want of common necessaries. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comforts. A few of us are endeavouring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. Are there no prisons? Well, there are plenty of prisons. Oh, and the union workhouses, are they still in operation? Well, they are still. I wish I could say they were not. Oh, I'm very glad to hear it. I was afraid that something had happened to stop them in their useful course. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments I have mentioned before. They cost enough. And those who are badly off must go there. Sir, many can't go there. And many would rather die. If they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, it's not my business. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Now, seeing that it was useless to pursue their point, the gentlemen withdrew. Meanwhile, fog and darkness thickened. At length, the hour of shutting up the counting-house arrived. With an ill-willed Scrooge dismounted from his stool and admitted as much to the expectant clerk. Well, you'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose. Well, if it's quite convenient, sir. It's not convenient. And it's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound. Yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work. Well, sir, it is only once a year, sir. A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier next morning. Oh, my. The clerk promised that he would, and Scrooge walked out with a growl. All right, spirits. Now, everyone, follow me this way, please. Now, Scrooge took his usual melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern and went home. Now, he lived in a gloomy suite of rooms in a lowering old pile of a building. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. Then let anyone here explain to me, maybe you, Giovanna, you explain to me how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, not a knocker, but Marley's face. Marley's face! As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. Pooh. Now, Scrooge was not a man to be frightened by echoes, but he walked through his rooms just to see that all was right, nonetheless. There you are, Scrooge. There you go. All right. Nobody under the bed. Nobody under the table. Nobody in his dressing gown, which was hanging up in a suspicious attitude against the wall mark. And then his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the middle of the room. And it was with great astonishment and an inexplicable dread that he saw this bell begin to swing. It rang out loudly, succeeded by a clanking noise deep down below, as if someone were dragging heavy chains over the casks in the wine merchant's cellar. It's humbug still! I won't believe it! How now? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then? You're particular for a shade.
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe me.
I don't.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a fragment of cheese, a piece of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Oh, mercy. Dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?
Man of the worldly mind. Do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. You are fettered. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it on of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it. Would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It is a ponderous chain.
Old Jacob Marley, tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate, a chance and hope of my procuring Ebenezer.
You always were a good friend to me, thank ye.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Jacob?
It is.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take 'em all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night, when the last stroke of 12 ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more. And look that, for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us.
The air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste and moaning as they went. Phantoms just like yourselves, little spirits. And we can't hear your moan, but if you want to type moan, it might be a little bit spooky. I don't think so, though. All right. Every one of these phantoms wore chains. None were free. Whether these creatures faded into mist or mist enshrouded them, Scrooge could not tell. But he closed the window, and from the emotion he had undergone, all the fatigues of the day, all his glimpse of the invisible world, went straight to bed without undressing, and fell asleep upon the instant. When he awoke, it was dark. He was endeavoring to pierce the darkness when the chimes of a neighboring church struck. 12. The ghost had warned him of a visitation when the bell tolled 1. He resolved to lie awake until at length it broke upon his listening ear with a deep, dull, hollow, melancholy 1. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn aside. Scrooge, sitting up suddenly, found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them, as close to it as I am to you now, little sprite. Well, maybe you over there, purple sprite. Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What business brings you here?
Your welfare.
Well, I am much obliged, but can't help thinking that a night of unbroken rest would have been more conducive to that end.
Your reclamation, then. Take heed. Rise and walk with me.
Very well. As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road, with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. It was a clear, cold winter evening, with snow upon the ground. Oh, good heaven. Oh, I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Your lip is trembling, and what is that upon your cheek?
A pimple. I beg of you, leave me where you will.
You recollect the way?
Remember it. I could walk it blindfolded.
Strange to have forgotten it after so many years. Let us go on.
They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and winding river.
The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
I know. Entering the dreary hall, there was a chilly bareness in the place, which associated itself somehow with too much getting up by candlelight and not too much to eat. A door at the back of the house disclosed a long, bare, melancholy room, made barer still by lines of plain desks. At one end of these, a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire, and Scrooge wept to see his poor, forgotten self as he used to be. Suddenly, a man in foreign garments, wonderfully real and distinct to look at, stood outside the window with an axe stuck in his belt and leading by the bridle a donkey laden with wood. Why, Why, it's dear old Ali Baba. It's dear old honest Ali Baba. Yes, I know. One Christmas time when yonder solitary child was left here all alone, he did come for the first time, just like that. Oh, poor boy. Oh, poor boy. I wish. But it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol outside my door last night. I should like to have given him something. That's all.
Let us see another Christmas!
They had at that moment left the school behind them. They were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city. Excuse me when I take a deep breath before we continue. Here it was Christmas time again. The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door.
Do you know it?
Know it? I was apprenticed here. Oh, why, it's old Fezziwig. Oh, bless his heart, why, it's Fezziwig alive again. Yo there! Ebenezer! Oh! Scrooge's former self, now grown a young man, came briskly in. Oh, yo ho, my boy! No more work tonight, Ebenezer! Highly ho! Clear away my lawn, let's have lots of room here. Oh, there was nothing they wouldn't have cleared away with old Fezziwig looking on. It was done in a minute. The lamps were trimmed, and the warehouse was as snug and bright a ballroom as you would desire to see upon a winter's night. Oh, in came a fiddler with a music book. Oh, in came Mrs. Fezziwig. Hello, one substantial smile. In came the three Ms. Fezziwigs. Hello. Oh, in came the 6 young followers whose hearts they broke. Oh, in came all the young men and young women employed in the business. Oh, and away they all went, 20 couples at once, round and round. During the whole of this, Scrooge acted like a man out of his wits. His heart and soul were in the scene, and with his former self. He remembered everything, enjoyed everything, and underwent the strangest agitation.
A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
Oh, no, it isn't that, Spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. Say that his power lies in words and looks, and in things so slight and insignificant that it's impossible to count them up. What then? The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing particular. I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now. That's all.
My time grows short. Quick!
This produced an immediate effect, for again Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of life. His face had not the harsh lines of later years, but it had begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. He stood in a park near the side of a fair young girl, in whose eyes there were tears. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can comfort you in the years to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve. What idol has displaced you? A golden one. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off, one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you. Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor. and content to be so. You are changed. I release you with a full heart. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. She left him, and they parted. No, no. Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home.
I told you that these were shadows of things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Haunt me no longer. He turned upon the ghost, and seeing that it looked at him with a face in which there were fragments of all the faces it had shown him, he wrestled with it. But then he was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, and further, of being in his own bedroom. He had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy, heavy sleep. Awakening in the middle of a prodigiously tough snore, Scrooge felt that he was restored to consciousness in the right nick of time for the special purpose of holding a conference with the second messenger dispatched to him. When the bell struck 1, well, and no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. Well, I see he's not trembling now. Let's, maybe, yeah, a little bit like this. Oh, he's trembling. There we are. A quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. At last he got up softly in his slippers and shuffled to the door. Now, it was his own room, there was no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were hung with living green that had looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright, gleaming berries glistened. In easy state, there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see. Scrooge entered timidly, and though the spirit's eyes were clear and kind, he did not like to meet them.
Come in. Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You've never seen the like of me before.
Never.
Have never walked forth with my elder brothers born in these later years?
I'm afraid I have not. Have you had many brothers, Spirit?
More than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for. Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learned a lesson, which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Grab my robe.
Yeah, very well. Scrooge did as he was told and held it fast, and they stood in the city streets on Christmas morning. The ghost led him straight to Scrooge's clerk's house. Right here. Well, what are we doing here? And on the threshold of the door, the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling. Up rose Mrs. Cratchit, dressed but poorly in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons. And she laid the cloth, assisted by Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, and now 2 smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming and basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onion. They danced about the table. And then in came little Bob, the father, his threadbare clothes darned up and brushed to look seasonable, and Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Alas for Tiny Tim. He bore a little crutch, and his limbs were supported by an iron frame. And how did little Tim behave? Oh, he's good as gold, and better. Somehow, sitting by himself so much. There you are, Tim. He thinks the strangest things you ever heard, didn't he? He told me, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in the church because it might be pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Bob's voice was tremulous as he told them this, and trembled more when he said that Tiny Tim was growing strong and hearty. Mrs. Cratchit left the room to take the pudding up and bring it in. In half a minute she entered, flushed but smiling proudly. Oh, a wonderful pudding! Oh, everybody had something to say about it, but nobody said that it was at all a small pudding for such a large family. No, it would have been flat heresy to do so. At last the dinner was all done, the cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, the fire made up, and then all the Cratchit family drew around the hearth. I'll give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast. Oh, the founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, I would. My dear children, Christmas Day, it should be Christmas Day, I am sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, but not for his. A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt. The children drank the toast after him. It was the first of their proceedings which had no heartiness. Scrooge was the ogre of the family. The mention of his name cast a dark shadow on the party, which was not dispelled for a full 5 minutes. After it had passed away, they were 10 times merrier than before. Oh, a Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us. God bless us, everyone, said Tiny Tim. Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No. Oh, no, kind spirit, say he will be spared.
What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Man, if man you be in heart, forbear that wicked cant until you have discovered what the surplus is and where it is. Will you decide which men shall live and which men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
Scrooge bent before the ghost's rebuke, and trembling, cast his eyes upon the ground. But then Scrooge and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much they saw, and far they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirit stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful. By poverty, and it was rich. In almshouse, hospital, and jail, in misery's every refuge, the spirit left his blessing. It was a long night, if it were only a night. But Scrooge had his doubts of this, because the Christmas holidays appeared to be condensed into the span of space and time that they passed together. Now, In that instant, Scrooge looked around him for the ghost and saw it not. As the last stroke of 12 ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld the solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. Am I in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come? You are about to show me the shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Is that so, Spirit? Well, lead on. Lead on. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know. So lead on, Spirit. The phantom moved away as it had come towards him. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up about them and compass them of its own act. But they were in the heart of it. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Scrooge listened to their talk. No, said a great fat man with a monstrous chin. I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead. And what has he done with all his money? Asked a red-faced gentleman. No, I haven't heard, said the man with a large chin, yawning again. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know. It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life I don't know if anybody to go to it. Scrooge knew the men, and looked towards the spirit for an explanation. The phantom glided on. They went into an obscure part of the town where Scrooge had never penetrated before. Sitting in among the wares he dealt in by a charcoal stove was a grey-haired rascal. Scrooge and the phantom came into the presence of this man just as a woman with a heavy bundle slunk into the shop. Now, oh, what odds then, old Joe? Oh, every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did, didn't he? Oh, that's true indeed. No man more so. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose. If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying, gasping out his last there alone by himself. Open up that bundle, old Joe, and let me know the value of it. What do you call this, then? Bed curtains? You don't mean to say you took 'em down, rings and all, with him lying there? Oh, yes, I do. Why not? He frightened everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead. Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. But, merciful heavens, what is this? He recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed again, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay something covered up. A pale light fell upon the bed, and on it, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this man. Scrooge glanced towards the phantom. Its steady hand was pointed towards the head. Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I shall not leave its lesson, trust me. Let us go. I beseech you, let me see some tenderness connected with the death. The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet. They entered poor Bob Cratchit's dwelling. And here they found the mother and the children seated around the fire. Quiet. Very quiet. I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home from the world, but I think he's walked a little slower than he used these last few evenings. I've known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder very fast indeed, but he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble. No trouble. Oh, and there's your father at the door. Bob was very cheerful with them and spoke pleasantly to all the family. Oh, my dear, wish I could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is, but you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. No. Oh, my little child. My little child. Spirit, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me, what man that was whom we saw lying dead? The phantom led him through an iron gate in the churchyard. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. Before I draw nearer to that stone which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of the things that may be only? The spirit was immovable as ever, and following the finger, Scrooge read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name. No. Am I that man who lay upon the bed? No, spirit. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Then show me yet that I may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will honor the Christmas time in my heart, and I try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past and the present and the future. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone. In his agony, he caught the spectre's robe. The spirit repulsed him, holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed. He saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Oh, best and most wonderful of all the time before him was his own to make amends in. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley! Oh, heaven and the Christmas tide be praised for this! The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. No, they will be. I know they will. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Hello there. Yes. What's today, my fine fellow? Why, it's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Do you know the poulterers at the next street corner? Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey? No, not the little prize turkey, the big one. Yes, go and buy it and tell them, bring it here. And it's twice the size of Tiny Tim. I'll send it to Bob's Cratchit. He shan't know who sends it. Oh, there it is. Oh my boy, that's much too big to carry to Camden Town. Well, you must have a cab. The chuckle with which he said this, and the chuckle with which he paid for the cab, and the chuckle with which he recompensed the boy were only to be matched by the chuckle with which he sat down again in his chair and chuckled till he cried. Well, then he dressed himself all in his best, and then he went out into the streets. Now, it was not very far that he had gone when, coming on towards him, he beheld the portly gentleman who had walked into his counting-house the day before. My dear sir, how do you do? Oh, I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir. Mr. Scrooge? Yes, that is my name, and allow me to ask your pardon, will you have the goodness? 100 million and 100. Lord bless me. Mr. Scrooge, are you serious? If you please, and not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor? Yeah, well, my dear sir, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Come and see me. Will you come and see me? I will. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Oh, bless you. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. Fred, it's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred? Oh, let him in. Oh, it's a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. I was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office next morning. Oh, yes, he was. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming in late. Oh, my. That was the thing he had set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. He was a full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. And his hat was off before he had even opened the door. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Hello. What do you mean by coming here at this time of day, I am behind my time, sir. I am very sorry. There you are. Oh, yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please. It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated, sir. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir. Yes. Now, I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, I'm about to raise your salary. Oh, a Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavour to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a bowl of smoking Bishop Bob Cratchit. Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die. I know you looked a little worried about that, Spirit Katie. Tiny Tim did not die, and to him Scrooge was a second father. He became as good a man and as good a friend as the old city knew. And some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh. And little he heeded them, for his own heart laughed. And that was quite enough for him. He had no further encounter with spirits, and it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. If any man alive possessed that knowledge, may that truly be said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, for joining us at the final performance of our run of A Christmas Carol. Thank you so much. I am Aritar as Dickens and Scrooge, and standing to my right, this gruesome specter is Debbie Deer, playing all four ghosts. She doesn't look like that, actually. That's our headshots behind you, if you're curious. Thank you. I hear you say bravo. Thank you very much. And, of course, an invisible round of applause for the entire Agile Lens production team working hard behind the scenes. Thank you. I see you saying yay, hooray. You can either say yay, clap, clap, or sort of, I don't know, oscillate back and forth in sort of a spectre-y style if you want to sort of indicate your movement. Thank you so much. Oh, and of course to Dr. Ainsley and Debbie's younger sister. Thank you for joining us all the way from Jamaica, and thank you, Katie and Aaron and all of you wonderful people. Thank you for coming. Yes, applause. Thank you. I can feel the love. I can feel the love. And of course, if you want to gather around and be the baubles on our wonderful Christmas tree behind you, please feel free to do so. Or perhaps you could form the shape of a menorah within the fireplace if you want to be creative. It's all acceptable. Thank you so very much. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa, and all of the others that we don't have time to mention. Thank you so much. Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for coming. And if you have any screenshots, post on social media. Doesn't hurt. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Oh, you look so wonderfully cheerful and seasonal there. Oh, my goodness. All my specters. Look at you decorated. Here we have, of course, our credits over here, if you're curious. All of our wonderful support staff working even now behind the scenes and helping you with technical problems. Ah, my goodness. The Christmas cheer is so palpable in this room right now. It's delightful. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Hug the Christmas. Give me a hug here, Marley. Come on. Share the Christmas cheer. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You're sticky. You are sticky. All right. That's enough of that. Thank you.